So ancient here, welcome or welcome back. It is my honor to present you with another Sun and Serpent episode. I want to go over a couple journal entries that I've been reading on the origin of serpent worship. This first one's from 1905, The Serpent in the Old Testament by Ross G. Merrison, from the American Journal of Semitic Languages and Literatures. I found this fascinating, and it's right up my alley. He gives us some insight on how the writers of the Hebrew Bible viewed the serpent, and I wanted to share it with you. All animals with which primitive man has come in contact with have received some reverence or worship, but the three which sit highest in the house of the gods are the serpent, the crow, and the hare. The serpent has been the most universally worshipped of all animals. Wherever it has been known, there it has been reverenced. The primal cause of the superstitions regard of any animal lies in its uncanniness, a quality which the serpent possesses in a very high degree. The characteristics which have led mankind to give the serpent such a high place in their regard may be thus summarized. Its motions, whether proceeding forward like a streak of burnished light, or still more wonderfully executing without haste and without confusion the most intricate figures. Its lightning-like rapidity in attacking its victims, the tongue flicking in and out of its mouth, the power of it looking like its environment, the specter-like silence and subtlety, the faculty of sudden appearance and disappearance, its infinite patience and watchfulness, the power of continuing for hours with the head raised aloft and with brilliant eyes fixed on some object which has excited its suspicion or curiosity, its wonderful quietude, lying day after day upon the same spot as if asleep, yet eternally awake, and with eyes open, fixed on all who observe it. The power of existing for long periods of time without food, yet its vigor is not diminished. Its periodical renewing of its youth by shedding its skin, its longevity, its deadly venom, its power of fascination, its habit of frequenting ruins, lonely places, caves, and subterranean abodes. The serpent, being possessed of so many qualities, seeming demoniacal. Others were naturally soon added, and serpent worship, both direct and symbolical, arose. The Fiery Serpens. The story of these reptiles is extremely difficult of explanation if it's to be taken literally in all its parts. The difficulty has been felt by both rabbinic and Christian interpreters. Neither of these have given much attention to the essential questions, but have been generally content to draw some lessons from the story or to find some allegorical meaning to it. The making of an image is in direct opposition to all of the Torah, the aim of which was to root out all empty symbolism and fetish veneration. Therefore, for God to command that a serpent's image should be made to be reverenced is so inconsistent as to be unbelievable. If Nehushtan, 2 Kings 18 verse 4, was this image, it simply shows that the inevitable in the then condition of the religion in Israel happened. The miracle-working image became a god. He stated by studying these creatures, observing the characteristics and behaviors of the serpent, led ancient man to believe that they were godlike, had divine-like powers and characteristics, which in turn prompted serpent worship. The Bronze Serpent gives us all kinds of insight here, and I'll tell you why. For one, the Israelites were not supposed to be making images of deities, whether it's other deities or their own. It even says it in the Ten Commandments that they should not make any graven images. How they explained it was that these fiery serpents were sent from God. They were agents of divine punishment from the deity, sent on them for their murmuring and not appreciating what God did for them, which was bring them out of slavery, out of Egypt. And I think food and other things was the issue. So these snakes, these fiery serpents, bite the Israelites, and it says many people died. A lot of them died. Moses goes to intercede for them. God says, make a bronze serpent and hang it on a pole. When they look at the image, they would be healed. This kind of contradicts all theories about the serpent representing evil. From the Journal of the Anthropological Institute of Great Britain and Ireland, Volume 2, 1873. The Origin of Serpent-Worship. The serpent entered largely into the mythology of the ancient Persians, as it does into that of the Hindus. In India, it is associated with both Sivaism and Vishnuism, although its actual worship perhaps belonged rather to the aboriginal tribes among whom Buddhism is thought by recent writers to have originated. The modern home of the superstition, however, is Western Africa, where the serpent is not merely considered sacred, but is actually worshipped as divine. On the other side of the Indian Ocean, traces of the same superstition are met with among the peoples of the Indian islands and of Polynesia. Also in China. The evidences of serpent worship on the American continent have long engaged the attention of archaeologists who have found it to be almost universal under one form or another among the aboriginal tribes. The animal was sculptured on the temples of Mexico and Peru, and its form to be of frequent occurrence among the mounds of Wisconsin. The most remarkable of the symbolic earthworks of North America is the Great Serpent Mound of Adams County, Ohio, the convolutions of which extend to a length of 1,000 feet. What he's getting at is all over the world, every single continent shows evidence of this type of worship and reverence for the serpent. Not only that, it's always attributed to the most ancient of people in that area. He then goes on to connect deities from various religions all together, showing that this was universal and very, very ancient. Hercules is described as the destroyer of serpents. In the same poem, he is identified with Mahadeva, and hence he is exactly the same as Shiva, who has the title of King of Serpents. The primitive character of Shiva as the Vedic Rudra is now almost lost, but the identity of the two deities may be supported by reference to an incident related in the myth of Hermes and Apollo. It is said that in return for the sweet-sounding lyre, Apollo gave to Hermes the magical three-leafed rod of wealth and happiness. Sometimes this rod was entwined with serpents instead of fillets, and there's no difficulty in recognizing in it the well-known emblem of Shiva, which is also sometimes encircled by serpents. It can be shown that the Hindu deity is a form of Saturn, one of the Semitic names for whom was Set or Seth. It was the serpent symbol of this god, which was said to have been elevated in the wilderness for the healing of the people bitten by serpents. And curiously enough, Rudra, Shiva, was called not only the bountiful, the strong, but the healer. The later Egyptian title of the god Set was Typhon. Typhon is the monster who obscures heaven, a sort of Greek Vritra. The myth of Indra and Vritra is reproduced in Latin mythology as that of Hercules and Cacus, Cacus being Typhon. There is another point of contact, however, between Siva and the god Set or Typhon, who was known to the Egyptians also as the serpent Apophis. El, or Kronos, was Typhon, and the serpent and pillar symbols of the Phoenician deity confirm the identification between Set or Saturn and the Siva of the Hindu pantheon. So he closes this out, proposing the theory that thunderstorms were the origin of serpent worship. Electricity. If you look at a thunderbolt, it's kind of serpentine. If you know anything about the Chinese dragon or the Nagas, they bring the rain, they bring the wind. It's a pretty solid theory, but I don't think it's all. This is so ancient. This has been another episode of The Sun and the Serpent. Please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Thank you for your time.